the package we are starting to see come from the Republicans, or at least begin to be discussed with certain reporters and kind of pass through the public in an intermediate fashion, is about what we expected. It includes, most importantly, that waiver of liability for COVID-related claims for businesses. It includes some additional direct payments, probably one, but much smaller in scope than the one in March. This would be $1,200 potentially, not to people making under $75,000 a year, but possibly only to people making under $40,000 a year. Much more targeted, much more tailored. The other thing, of course, to note is that it will probably include some slight extension of unemployment benefits, but not anything near the benefits we've seen to this point. So instead of $600 a week extra, it might be more like $100 a week extra, much more limited. The idea being to encourage people to go back to work. I would also note there would likely be a small amount of state and local aid, probably under $200 billion. And that's because the overall package is still desired to be around the $1 trillion mark. There was reporting yesterday that I believe that the Republicans, because they see the damage wrought by this second wave of COVID, especially in red states, especially in the South and Southwest, are starting to inch the total size of the package up from 1 trillion to more like 1.3 trillion. That to me is the real tell. That shows you they understand this is going to probably have to grow, not only because they need to get Democratic support for whatever the final package is just to pass the House and to overcome a Senate filibuster, but because they realize they need it. The White House is still pitching a number of ideas that you may have seen press on, whether that's a proposal to pay people to have a vacation, several $1,000s per family taking a domestic vacation, or a payroll tax cut, or a plan to allow for the tax deductibility of business meals at restaurants. All those things are dead on arrival. No one wants to tell the president he's not going to get that. The belief is they'll reach a deal inside the Senate between the Senate R's and Senate D's that can be blessed by Nancy Pelosi of the House, and that'll be the bill. I should note, the truth is right now, the parties are still very far apart. Democrats have scoffed at what they've seen so far be broached by the Republicans. For Democrats, what they want is about $1 billion of state and local aid, as we discussed. They would be willing to swallow the liability for waiver for businesses in addition to other payments. House wants another $1,200, even $2,000 payments one time to pretty much anyone under $75,000, including additional monies for children. And people on the left of the House are still pushing for monthly $2,000 payments to people until the crisis passes. I should note an increasing focus in the last week has been money for schools. There is now inside the Republican caucus and the White House an appreciation that the schools are not on track to reopen per normal. There was apparently a belief into the last 10 days in those circles that the schools would be opening 5 days a week, minimal changes and disruptions to ordinary practices until the last few days. This is likely to get more fraught before it gets less fraught. There's talk of trying to limit the state and local aid and to only allow states and localities to have it if schools are open 5 days a week. That's not likely to end up in the final bill, but it shows you schools are likely to be the big flashpoint coming up as these negotiations continue.